Now, I'm going to be sharing several things here today, and I have to mention to you that there is part of me that's a little bit nervous. I'm quite certain that in previous life incarnations, I was absolutely crucified for speaking my truth. In fact, I was in England just a few weeks ago, and they would speak a great deal about telling you all the stories of their very colorful life of how they used to cut off and behead many of the queens. And they would say that many of the beheadings were actually by drunken men who had very dull swords, and that one queen was especially lucky because hers was a very quick sword. And so I could feel myself relate to that when they were telling that, and I'm like, bloody hell, please make sure the sword is quick and sharp, right? But there are things that come from the past, from us, and understanding that time really isn't what it is that we think it is in this human reality. I'm going to be stepping out of my own personal cosmic closet here today, just a bit, and sharing things that I don't normally talk about. As many of you know, and for those of you that don't, my life has been in corporate. And so we have a certain persona in corporate, and then we have a certain persona in other realities. And my stepping out with this kind of vulnerability, because I'm going to be very, very vulnerable in some of the things that I share here today, is a very, very new space for me. So if you would, just send me positive vibes as we go through this. There were 3 words that I really wanted to anchor here for us here today. And one is called cosmic romance. And you're going to hear me refer to cosmic romance, and it's actually in Walter and Lao's work that we might not have ever noticed before, because it's the phrase that was mentioned in the home study course that was very surprising to me about how it unfolded. You'll hear me tap dancing between cosmic romance and divine union. I also want to mention this phrase multidimensional. This is really, really important, and it's something that humans really struggle with, because as humans, having worked with leaders now, over 50,000 of them, I've had front row seat to seeing just how linear humanity is. And we tend to think of things as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We tend to think of the cow jumped over the moon, when instead we are actually called to live a multidimensional existence. It's actually our divine birthright. It is inherently who we are, embodied within our cellular DNA. And yet we don't have an understanding of it. And that's part of why I'm excited here. I'm going to be sharing many, many other things about this whole multidimensional reality. And then I also want to mention this idea of timelines. So I'm going to mention timelines because timelines are points in our reality where we make decisions. Every decision we make or we don't make sets out a wave pattern that actually changes the course of our life or other lives. And so when my cosmic gifts started to really become online with me in the past 10 years, some of this was very frightening to me. And I'm going to share some of that today. And I'm doing this with as much heartfelt love as I can, because I believe there are many others that are going to have these gifts come online, and they're not going to understand what's happening. And so as we go through this, I don't want you to be surprised, because what I'm going to do, my attempt is, and I ask your forgiveness if I bumble through some of this, is to understand that like a braid, there's something very special here. We have this cosmic love story of Walter and Lao, and so I'll be bringing that in. I have the cosmic romance story that I'm living myself with my partner, Ken, who's in the audience, which makes me a little nervous, but that's okay. He has no idea, by the way, what I'm going to say. I have not talked to him about any of this, and my only question to him was, is there anything that I can't share? I asked him this a couple months ago, and he said, just don't make me sound too sappy. And I said, well, I can't promise that. But and then the third element of this particular braid is all of you. Because whether you're in a current relationship, you're going to be invited to have a deeper dimension to your relationships. If you're not in a current relationship, it is quite possible that your divine union, your cosmic romance is coming into your life. And when I talk about multidimensional, please understand that there's an element of our higher selves and there's the element of who we are here in this reality. It gets very, very big. And so as I was planning this, there was so much I wanted to share that I realized that this it's difficult to do this in this reality, and here is why. In the Divine Iliad, written by Walter Russell after his first illumination, in the Book of Love, I want to just bring up 2 essences. It says in number 12, that which I know in light must I translate into words, for which there are no words. Wordless essence must I translate into words of man. And that speaks a great deal to me. I've been hearing impaired since I was a child. I've worn 2 hearing aids for almost all of my life. And that means that I don't hear the way the rest of the world hears. And I've often had to tune into this essence that is not spoken. And I can't always explain that to people, but I know that divinity really has no words. And so the things that I'll speak of today, I ask that you please just take away the things that are important for you in your journey. The main goal I have here today is to remove any fear of the levels that many of us are going to be advancing in. More love is pouring into the planet, and for many of you, it might be that not only is your divine union, it could be that they're not in this life, perhaps they're on the other side of the veil, but you still have access to all the love that is available. And that's what was so incredibly powerful for me. So let's continue the journey. So I want to go back for a moment. I need to explain to you that I have thousands of pages of journaling. I am recovered from an eating disorder that I battled from the time I was 13 until I was 35. It was an eating disorder that almost destroyed me. And so part of my method of recovery was journaling. And so I have thousands of pages. I can go back to just about any week in my life over the past 20 years, and I can tell you what was happening. And what's really powerful about that is that you can each year go back and see where you were a year ago, and you see your growth. You see your growth in how you think and how you feel and how you process. And so I've been capturing quite a bit of things. Well, fast forward to 2015, and I started to have some things happen differently with my journaling. And I started to hear from other essences, other voices. And can you imagine, as a human, you're thinking, oh no, I am absolutely losing my mind. What is going on? I'm not going to tell anybody else that I'm actually hearing something. But I wanted to read this particular journal entry to you because I want to share with you something that was quite startling to me. So there I was. You'll see that I have the time and the date, and I had this essence speak to me, and it said, I know you're a bit uncertain right now and wondering why, how, and what. Your analytical mind has always made it hard for you sometimes to let go. I'm sorry that you've not felt safe in this lifetime. I feel your pain and sadness. You've been tough and have made it through it all, but your soul is very, very tired. I know you're staying positive and focused on upliftment. You've always had such high hopes, and that is a part of what I love about you. I know this is confusing to your human mind. It is safe to let the tears fall now. Let me help you release that hurt. It has been bottled up for so long. You're ready to be done with this assignment, as am I. We signed up for a tough one this time, but no rest is coming. Peace is coming. Harmony is coming. You need to go eat and fuel up. Notice the physicality. Your physical vessel is tired. Know I am close by. Our connection is a cosmic one, and I cannot wait to see you again soon. Now, can you imagine my shock when those words flooded through? It was just as clear as if I had any of you talking to me here in this room. The only other time that I'd had a recollection of that happening was years before that, and I was on an airplane, and I felt the same essence swoop in and talk to me. And I was in tears. I was all shook up on this airplane because it was very uncomfortable for me. It scared me. I was frightened of what was happening. And so I have no record of it because I was trying to pretend that it didn't exist. And then as I began to connect and broaden my own divine gifts, what I've come to realize, and I want to talk about this whole issue of telepathy. I believe it's a lost art. And I believe that many of us here in humanity have become trapped by electronics because of this idea of interfering with our telepathic abilities. So I want to demystify that just a little bit here today, because it really is nothing more than a wave pattern. And if you're familiar with any of Walter Russell's work, you know that in the wave lies the secret of creation. And what I began as I was honing in my telepathic abilities, I was speaking to what I've come to call my divine team. Some would say it's God, it's my angels, it's my guides, it's my star family, it's my anybody from my past, anybody who was guiding me for the highest good. I got very good at listening and tuning in, and to the point where I was able to actually capture them in different colors when I was having these communications. Now, some people say, oh, Kim, well, this sounds all woo-woo. Well, I would tell you that I really am only a one-woo girl. I too started to go after this with the research tenacity of a scientist saying, what is happening to me? And if we think about this idea of telepathy, what it really is that there's something from some essence, okay, some energy that actually sends out a wave pattern. And we talked last, Ken shared this particular diagram with you in July, where we send out wave patterns. This was an illustration captured by Walter Russell, and then somehow it is received. In all fairness, we actually already understand that. We all have no problem believing that our phones are going to receive a telephone call. We have no issues with thinking that when we send a text that it's received on the other side. And so we understand this on one level, yet when it comes to us just telepathically communicating, it begins to be spooky. It begins to be weird. So I fast forward almost a year, and I heard from this essence again. Just showed up, popped up in my reality when I was in a meditative still point. And this is what he said. He said, I come to you in your dreams often, but you don't remember. I'm fortifying you with love in your heart and soul space because it feels depleted, although that is an illusion. As for us, you are weary of that word. You have shut off the heart center to the possibilities in us in the future because you were so deeply hurt by the us you thought you had. We are working with you both to get through this season. This was a time when I was married, and at the time I was kicked out of the family because of my work with child trafficking, and so it was a very traumatic time for me. Said, you're asking if I can give you a glimmer of what a soul-nourishing love would look like in the future. You already feel the telepathic element of it. There will be no hiding what you really feel or the energy you're emitting. It will be impossible to pretend. You are so craving the chance to be your fully authentic self where you are not questioned or challenged by the superiority complex which is inherent to the human race. Your essence will shine like a bright star. It's quite beautiful and cannot be contained. You will feel safe to be who you really are and enjoy a true partnership, not tarnished by human challenges. And he went on to say, know that you can draw on my energy when the earthly journey becomes too challenging. Whew. Think of us in a beautiful flower garden like you saw yesterday in the spa. So please notice the interrelation between my daily life and this cosmic connection. It will be magical just like that with honeysuckle fragrances around. You'll be nourished and understood. That is all you've ever wanted, to be understood. You crave the protective masculine energy that is strong and courageous. You want to be held literally and figuratively by a masculine presence that can match the power you bring to the world. So it will be, love. So it will be. I recognize with honor, the challenge of even typing the affection of love. Your heart is so bruised that it makes my heart hurt for you. Healing is coming very soon. And then I wrote in the journal myself in a different color, such interesting times, yet my heart feels amazingly numb. Now, I had no way to process what was happening, and to everyone who's listening, anyone who has ever felt a disappointment, a closing off, a shutting down of your heart, of a disbelief that in this reality there can be anything like this. This is part of why I've decided to share some of these things. I had no frame of reference to process this at all. So it was very, very confusing to me. So here I'm hearing from my angelic guides. I can tune into other people's higher selves. When I talk about multidimensionality, as humans awaken more and more of their divine gifts that are inherent in their DNA, they are going to be able to see someone and see their higher self and their human self all at the same time. So these are not unusual occurrences. And so when I'm with people, I've been doing this for years now, I would be in with audiences, and I literally not only see who is in the room with me, but I see many times their versions of their higher self. It gets very confusing when you begin to see life in a multidimensional fashion. So here I am trying to figure out, how do I live this reality with all of these gifts? So fast forward, and I run across a phrase called tachyon healing chambers. And I researched where they are in this country. And there were only 11 of these tachyon healing chambers. And I find this tachyon healing chamber by a gentleman, Dr. Joe McNamara, who is in a town, a little bitty town I've never heard of, called Waynesboro, Virginia. I'm living in Greenville, South Carolina at the time. And I call him and I book a whole week of sessions. I was like, somebody's got to help me figure out, because am I going crazy? Please help me get some answers. And what I've learned is that my divine team will give me a book, a place, a healing. And the way I have discerned it is that I ask for 3 times of confirmation before I know that's the path that I'm supposed to go. And sure enough, it appeared. So I go to this particular Tachyon Chambers, and he hands me this brochure, and he says, why don't you go check out this Russell Museum while you're assimilating it in between sessions? Never, ever heard of Waynesboro, never, ever heard of the Russells, and I walk into this museum. Wow. Life-changing. Life-changing. Changed the absolute course of the direction of my life. Now, this week was really special to me. We didn't plan it this way. It serendipitously happened that my museum anniversary is what I call it, actually is this week. This past Monday was 3 years ago to this week that I actually walked through those doors. And I'm going to share with you what I wrote on my journal that day so you can get it in real time. And I said, I walked in on the 19th, and so here I am on Friday the 20th, and I said, felt like I came home yesterday when I was at the museum for Walter and Lao. Fascinating how in tuned I was to their work, although I must confess it is a bit overwhelming. I am a studious person, and it is overwhelming for me. Reading through the book, The Universal One, last night was like, whoa. I know I have some connection here, but unsure what it is. I trust it will be revealed. So I go on to my Tachyon healing visits throughout the week, and I'm simply going to mention a couple of things here. I'm leaving this here so it can be paused for a video later on because I captured what happened to me in each visit. But there were 3 visits in particular that I wanted to bring up here, because by the time I got to visit 5, I said I had a 30-minute session and it made a big difference. I could see a special shaped light, so it's like a scalar light, shining above Virginia. I was shown the chains on humanity being broken and was allowed to feel the freedom on the other side. It was quite beautiful, and it gave me great hope. And so then, on the next visit, it says, I had a mind-blowing 30 minutes. I was meditating on the things I had read last night before in The Universal One by Walter Russell and wondering how it tied in with Cryon, with magnetics. Cryon is another channeler in the world. When I thought the word magnetic, the room started to spin, like I was going to be sick. So they kept saying, be solid like an oak tree to keep me grounded. I was spun around counterclockwise, I think, inside of a DNA strand, like one of those carnival rides when you were a kid. You remember those, when you used to be against the side and spinning and the force would keep you to the side? Spinning so fast, and then I saw myself spinning in a Merkabah field. I still remember the image. I have a video. I was told to remember this so I could come back as needed. I was shown the connection between gravity and magnetism. Wow. And then, somehow, the mix of the Tachyon and the museum discovery together was very powerful. I can't wait to do that again. And so the joy I want to mention to all of you is as life begins to take you on this journey, because the romance is getting ready to come full force here, is that I'm going to show you what I found in this particular video. It wasn't exactly what I saw, was not exactly like this. Please understand, you see 2 shapes. It was counterclockwise. So one was going one way and one was going the other. This is the closest image that I've been able to find. But I literally felt that come out of my body, and I actually saw it. And it's important because this ties into the cosmic clock that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. So I start my journey on finding out about this lovely couple, a timeless cosmic romance. My heart is full of gratitude for these 2 because it gave me some answers that I didn't have, and I'm going to explain to you why. So this is where the timeless message becomes. Our past, present, and future is really time is an illusion, and it's only about the now moment. We've all heard this, but I'm understanding that in a greater fashion now. And here's what happened, is in Walter's illumination and in the home study course in chapter 2, I need to read some elements to you because this is very important. And he talks about, he said, so complete was my inner sensory perception that I was as much aware of Lao's birth as I am aware of the coming birth of another planet in this solar system. I know that it will seem incredible and unbelievable, but I was so aware of her growth and purpose that I felt certain she would come to fulfill our mutual destiny before the day given to me, as May 19th, 1946, arrived, which was to begin our mutual activity in reversing the thinking of the human race from its greed and fear basis to the love basis of nature. And he goes on to say that during all these years, my continuous awareness of her presence, we had many telepathic communications together in which her wisdom guided me, then as it does today. This was not a moment. There was not a moment of this time in which I did not feel she was the other half of the message to man, which was commanded to me to give. And this belief was fully demonstrated by the actual fact that not one scientific disclosure or written word ever given before her coming bore fruition until after the day she came. And from that day on, everything which we have jointly given to the world has borne deep fruit. Now mention telepathic communication. Imagine my reading this there on my back porch, and all of a sudden there was a ringing of saying, somebody else understands. And so it goes on and says, Lao was fully aware of our mutual destiny, as I was. She also knew that she would seek me and that she would be guided to me when the day came. I was not surprised, therefore, when she came in the March of 1946, 2 months before the destined date. So simple was this meeting that it seemed like the meeting of two who had always been together. She telephoned me from a far city to tell me that she was here. I recognized her voice and her presence and immediately took a plane to that far city. Always been together. Notice that. The story is incredible only to those whose limitations are outer sensing. To anyone whose inner sensory perception has unfolded to the great spectrum which is given to all illuminates, the story is perfectly comprehensible and natural. I look forward to the day when I may find time to write this cosmic romance, to inspire others to deeper comprehension of the multiplication of power which results from the male-female unity and equality. My. And so I thought it would be fun to take just a moment to hear from Lao herself. She's going to share about 1.5 minutes about how she and Doc met. And do listen when Walter chimes in, because that part is really very funny.
And I might tell you how Doctor and I met, so that you know how it is that nothing happens by chance.
And the greatest secret...
You know the little book, The Man Who Tapped the Secrets of the Universe by Glenn Clark, was given to me in March of 1946. And I'll tell you, would you like to know how we met? Well, someone gave me this little book, and I read it, and I knew, deep inside me, that Walter Russell was waiting for me to call him. Now that may sound strange to you, although you must have had experiences yourself that you couldn't believe, but that is actually what happened to me. So after reading the book through 3 times, I telephoned him to New York. I didn't know what I was going to say. I had never called anybody in my life before in this way, and I said to him, you know, I've just finished this little book about you, and I find myself expressed for the first time in my life. I would very much like to see you. And he said, well, I would very much like to see you. He said, there's something in your voice that I recognize. I have heard it within me for years. Can I see you tomorrow? And I laughed and I said, why no, I'm in Boston. And he said, well, if you're in Boston, you don't have to come to New York to see me. I'm coming to Boston to see you. And he came. And that is how we came together, and we have worked together as one ever since. So that's how fate unfolds, how destiny unfolds.
Quite charming, isn't it? And what's really fun about this is the fact that, did you notice how she was talking when he was trying to talk about other things? So that one made me chuckle. So what I'm thinking must have happened, and how I wish I would have been to this thing back in the 1950s, he must have been talking, and she might have noticed that the audience needed to pick me up, and she jumped in to share a particular story. What a lovely balance of the masculine and feminine. And for any of you that are new to the University of Science and Philosophy, you're going to find that there are many, many couples and much love all surrounded to the message, because it attracts love. It attracts this notion of cosmic romance. And so I want to lay this down here, because there is a new level of cosmic romance anchoring on the planet right now that I wanted to bring to our attention. Cosmic romances and divine unions are really portals. They're portals to a deeper understanding of the divine. And there are some of you who are going to be having those people come into your life. And from what I understand now, as I have been traversing this myself, is that it's happening along certain ley lines in the world, because these cosmic romances are anchoring more and more energy. Now, for those of you that are already in relationship, do understand that you can take yours to a whole nother level by inviting in that multidimensional aspect of what your relationship is, inviting in this love vibration that is anchoring here on the planet, because it is a bridge. Cosmic romances are a bridge. And so for anyone who is saying, I would like to find love, it's important that we begin to invite it in. Because I'll be honest with you, what I'm about to share with you, I would not have had the guts to experience had I not known about Walter and Lao's story. I want to make that really, really clear. My human self would have totally gotten in the way, and I would have shut it all down. The sheer fright of it all and the intensity of it all, and I would not have. So I have a deep, deep gratitude for Walter and Lao for giving me the courage to realize that these things could actually happen. But please understand, I still had no idea of what was happening in my life. And so, but I do want you to know that after coming through a tremendous amount of hurt in that particular area of life, I began to see a little bit of sky. And I would be studying the home study course, and I would be coming back and forth to the museum. And so I began to say, things are just a little bit different. And so then I had another message, and this is what it said. It said, I'm here. Simply breathe in my essence as if I were holding you right now. You can rest in this space. You're so ready for a stronger, awakened masculine energy that can enjoy and hold the fullness of all that is you. You are tired of having to hide, to split yourself into pieces, and definitely tired of not being able to express your divine feminine. Our time is coming. Do not doubt for it is already destined. Our paths will cross in an unexpected way, and it will feel like coming home. I, too, am doing my work and learning so I can be that masculine presence of strength. You wonder if I think of you all the time. I, too, have yearned for the feminine where I can drink in the tenderness, love, and power all at once. I, too, want to hurry up the timeline so we can get there. I, too, dream of the times that will come together physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I, too, wonder and yearn for those times. May we both have faith in the knowing that they're coming. We have both worked hard and served well. We have earned the respite coming our way. And then I wrote after that, this time his energy was very special and nourishing at a soul level. I remember him saying, I will be your rock and you will be my flower, meaning the essence of beauty in the divine feminine. Very powerful, and I'm most grateful for the connection. This is the first time I've been able to connect without fear, hurt, or distrust of love in the way. Now, please understand, I was planning to share a number of Walter and Lao's love letters, and we diligently were searching for those, and they didn't magically show up, so I had to go to Plan B. And so as I was thinking about this braid that I wanted to weave for us here today, please understand that for 18 months I was traveling 6 hours every month from South Carolina here, and I was creating these programs here called the Russell Experience, working with the team. And there I was. We had our first Russell Experience in April. We had our next Russell Experience, which some of you here are part of, in November of that particular year, and then all the way until January of 2023. And so I want you to understand that for being at a point in my life that the love had been completely shut down, that humanity really struggles with offering unconditional love to each other in so many realities, so many ways, that I poured this love into this museum. It was such a gracious and joyous time for me of devotion, of coming up here to this museum every single month, spending a week here, and pouring into creating these programs and anything else that I could do to serve. And what happened to me during that time is my space and understanding of love began to transform. And I began to learn that love has many flavors. That you can pour yourself into love of a pet, of a project, of a family. You can pour your love into a community, into a church, into an organization. You can pour your love into many, many different ways. But the very, very important aspect of this and how the next part of my journey even unfolded was because I was in this love space. And it was literally like falling in love. I would feel my heart flutter every time I would drive up here to the museum, so excited to be in a place where I could just pour into love. Our divine being is to actually pour love. That's what we are created to do. Love is our essence. And yet this world shuts it down. And so here I began to find out. So in this last one, before I share how things unfolded, I had another entry, and this is February of 2023. And my divine team was saying in blue, your future love would like to tune in. He's here now. And I wrote down the word gold because I'd come to call this essence gold. I could feel gold every time that he came through. He said, I've been close to your heart, giving you the support you need to release the last few things. You're not alone, my beloved, and never have been. Our time is coming. our time where we can indulge in love, revel in love, be in love, where our every need is taken care of and you can release your hypervigilance. I've been close by with a daughter situation and have felt the heaviness to your soul. She was going through health issues. I am lifting up her as well because I know you need her to be okay. Notice the interconnection between the regular physical and the cosmic. This is very important to be able to notice this. I'm so proud of you. You've been so strong, so loving, and so steady during this incarnation. I know you feel like this has been a mess, but it's been a beautiful mess. Anybody relate to that? You look back at your life and it feels like a beautiful mess. Mostly just a mess. It took me a long time to put the word beautiful in front of it. Your heart space is so spectacularly beautiful. You feel hesitance when I compliment you because you've not had men in your life compliment you without trying to fix you. I have no interest in fixing you. I want to love you, to support you, to take care of you, to encourage you, to heal you, to hold you, and to embrace you. I am ready for the divine masculine you so deeply crave. I will protect you, but that will not be needed where we're going. We will have great fun in being creative. We are so close. This year will not end without our paths having crossed. And when they do, it will happen fast and furious, but you're ready for that now. Your doubts will be long gone. Your soul will know we are destined to be together. I hold you close. I love your fullness, your desire to hope, and honor how much you have given to so many in this lifetime. Hawaii blue water will save for you, the best for last. I love you so much. Your every desire will be my honor to provide. I'm always with you, my beloved. It's safe to trust now. I will always have your back. I've done my work and know how to do that and how important that is to you at a soul level. So, this was percolating. I understand that my marriage was already over. I was in the process of moving to Virginia. I still had no understanding, but I was just like, okay, I was treating it like a cosmic scientist. So I want to fast forward to when the museum received a call. They received an email. And I'm going to share a few things. I want you to think about this particular segment of the presentation a little bit like Sleepless in Seattle. You remember when it's like AOL, you've got mail. Or so I'm going to fast forward to what happened as our journey unfolded here because it's fun, and so drink in and revel in the fun of it. It was also overwhelming and incredibly powerful. So he sends an email after having been a student for 28 years, sends an email to the university talking about how he's always wanted to do a movie or documentary about Walter Russell. So we have a conversation and we invite him in. We invite him to fly out here and talk to us. And I was tasked with corresponding with him to help arrange the meeting. So the week before that we met, we were just simply talking about simply airports, hotels, things like that. And somehow during the correspondence, he ends up sending me this note and says, hi, Kim, I love this song and thought you might enjoy it because this is what I'm seeing in you. So I want to mention to anybody who wants to tune into the vibration of this experience, perhaps the reason you're watching this right now is because you also would like this experience. This song was very powerful, and it must have been something that we agreed to in a previous time because all of that sudden that song, and I was like, why would he send me this song? Well, how did this song speak to me? It was just so incredibly powerful. And then he sends me another note here, and he's talking about, he's calling me a sacred sister, and just says, hey, I got you, I feel you, you're not alone, I feel our bond forming, it's a lot of special energy, but I don't believe it's more than I can handle. Between all of my family up there, my cup is so full. Words are not enough, but they will come out soon. Sincerely, your soul brother. So when you cross paths with someone who is part of your destined package here in this lifetime, there is a familiarity. There are lots of different things that they could have been in your past. And in fact, I'm going to have them come up with me at the end for any Q&A so you can ask any questions. But it was just like, this is interesting. So I want you to think of me kind of like a dog with my head cocked going, this is unusual. Wonder what's going on here. And so he sends me a note before when we were going back and forth. We were checking out each other's videos. We were planning for the things that were happening. And he just told me, you're an amazingly beautiful soul. We'll have some face-to-face time up there. And it says, for deeper revelations. And I was thinking, what deeper revelations? I had no frame of reference of that. I just couldn't even comprehend that. So we What was interesting, though, is you remember I'm sharing with you that I can telepathically hear from many light beings? Well, I kid you not, that he had sent me a text that morning and just said, wow, I'm so excited. I'll be there in a week. I hope I have I'm feeling a little unworthy about can I carry this message for Walter and Lao. I've been studying this for all these, through almost 3 decades. And this unworthiness word came from his text and it engulfed me. And all of a sudden, I received a download for him. I kid you not, it was just like AOL got mail. So we all can know when an email pops up, this is exactly word for word what popped into this download. And it came, and keep in mind, he is known as KC on the West Coast, Kenneth Charles, but they always call him KC. That's how we knew him. On his business side, he's called Ken. And this is the download that came to me. Now, I don't know this man. We've only talked once or twice, but this is the download that I received. You'll find that entertaining. And I said, as to the worthiness thought above, right, before we met, I said, Kenneth Charles Pearson, you were born for such a time as this. You are a beautiful facet of the Creator with such a bright light inside, one which will get even brighter in the coming weeks. I am assisting with removing the last of the toxic energy in your sacral chakra, the residue of hurt, rejection, loneliness, and all other distortions this 3D illusion placed on you. There are not many in this world whose essence and light is big enough to hold mine. Yours is one of the few, as I found out last week. We were conversing about energy. A gracious thank you for sharing your energy for my own healing as well. No need to respond. Simply drink in the healing and light and vibration contained within this message. You are dearly loved, and your wholeness and perfection from across the veil is coming through now. Big things to come. To which he replied, like an arrow through my heart, and tears of I don't know what are flowing, I know it's good. Now, I'm bringing this up because look at how I was talking to him, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it. In fact, I was like, I asked my divine team, what do you mean I got to say this stuff about a sacral chakra? I don't even know the man. Are you kidding me? So when you begin to have this interdimensional kind of existence, you start having your human self really struggling with some of this. But there it was, and so, all right, here we go. So what's important to understand is the morning of the day that he was to come, there was an important change to this particular cosmic clock. The previous president had worked with a team here, and they had found in one of the archives for Walter and Lao Russell the title, instead of just calling it the cosmic clock, they changed it to what Walter had called it, the Grand Symphony of Creation. So I want to be sure that we all mention that this is very, very pertinent, because on another day I will do a session about our soul song, because we each have a soul song inside of us, and I'm being shown that through the Walter work, but that's for another day to come. But what was so powerful about that morning is not only did they have this one, but the printer had printed a reverse of it. So there, in this very room, mind you, I'm seeing both of these side by side. And when it was sitting there, it was a profound moment for me, because I was like, that's the masculine and feminine. I had all these things that were flooding into my consciousness, and I was just riveted by the fact that I was seeing something that was opening something up for me, still not having any understanding of it. But seeing it in that fashion was incredibly, incredibly powerful. And I began to have a greater understanding of this cosmic clock. Fast forward a few hours, and the gentleman here in red walks in the room. We were standing right back there. Now, I could feel his energy when he walked into the building. It was very, very big, and I was shaking in my boots because I didn't understand what was going on. And when he walked in and I saw his eyes for the first time, it was like the light was so bright in his eyes, it was like seeing heaven. I'll never forget that moment, because then when he walked over and stepped closer to me, I looked into his eyes, and this is what I saw. I don't have an explanation for this, except that I'll share with you during Q&A. Please don't forget, if you're interested, to ask me. I've since learned about a creator contract that we have. But I literally saw the universe in his eyes. So you can imagine, there's a group of 10 of us here. We're all meeting. I am just clueless about what is happening. Remember, I'm still mad at Disney. Oh, and by the way, isn't it convenient? He's worked with Disney for 25 years. So that's a very important part of the story, because here's this guy from Disney coming in, and here I have a love-hate relationship with Disney. So we go through our meetings, and the energy was so big, I literally was holding a crystal because I needed something to anchor me, because I had no understanding. I just knew something was happening, but I didn't get it. In fact, I worked very hard to stay away from him. I orbited away the entire day. All the way until the afternoon when we took a break, I had to leave the building and go sit on the mountain because I had to get some energy and ground myself. Because I'm like, God, what is happening? I do not understand at all. And so I walk back into this room, and you'll find this amusing. He walks up to me. This is the first conversation he and I have ever had by ourselves. And he walks up and he goes, "Where have you been? I've been looking for you." I said, "I had to go get some fresh air." And he goes, "Oh, is the energy too big? Too much? Is the energy too much?" And I went, "It's not too much. I'm needing time to assimilate it." Now, understand, we're having this conversation without any idea of what's really happening. And he says to me, he goes, "I know who you are." And I'm thinking, who the hell am I? And he then walks away from me, and he walks away and starts to walk in the back room and says, "I know who you are." And so he walks in and he starts playing the piano, and someone else comes up to me and talks to me. So they're talking to me and he's playing the piano. This is what a multidimensional existence does. As he is playing the piano, I kid you not, I could feel musical notes leaving my heart and floating into the other room as to him. It was like a Disney scene, and I was like, "Dear God, Disney, are you kidding me?" So I'm having this conversation with someone in the room. I'm having my heart having musical notes floating to this person that I have no idea why he's there, right? And the whole day was just overwhelming. So by that time, I had to get home that night, and I was just reeling, absolutely reeling. And then I receive a text that night, and he says to me, "I'm here for you. I really loved everybody, and I mean that. But you, I don't know what it is, Kim, but I'm so tied connected to you. I've yet to see that in anybody, let alone a woman. What I see in you is so deep, powerful, and beautiful. Thank you for touching my heart in a way that even I can't find words for. Trust they will come. You can count on that. Everything and everyone up here is better than I could have dreamed of. And I like to think I'm a big believer in dreams coming true through God's grace." And then he asked me out of the blue, he goes, "How did you know that about my sacral chakra?" He's referring to the text that I sent him before. So we noticed on night one that there was something interesting percolating, but again, just didn't quite understand it. So then we get into day two. Day two, we end up going on a tour of Swannanoa. I knew it was an incredibly healing time for him. What was happening by this point is I recognized that my physicality and his physicality was literally intertwined, and that I could feel his blood sugar dropping. There was something mechanically, and please understand the energy in the room. There was one point that he even sat beside me, and I literally felt like I was going to fall out of my chair. This was how big the energy was in the room. And I'm saying this to people because when this walks into your life, it is big. Big's not even a big enough word. I don't know how to say this. It's big. And physically, it's the first time I ever felt the science around it. So we end up again on day two. I worked very, very hard to stay as far away as I could, although we did all end up going to lunch together. And we began to notice that there was a familiarity of something going on, and I had to leave early that afternoon. I noticed he was short-circuiting himself with the energy that was in the room. What many, many people underestimate with their physicality and spirituality is that your physicality has to match your ability to grow on the spiral of consciousness. That's why so many of us right now are being encouraged to eat well, to exercise, to drink water, because we are being ready for this higher level of a vibration. This is also why, for many of us, we're being trained with our thoughts, because telepathy is going to be very common in humanity. And we don't want to be thinking thoughts that we really don't want to have someone else hear or actually have happen. And so all of these things were intertwining, and I was in this immersive, and I had to leave by that afternoon. But by that point, I knew what he needed to get better. And so I said, I'm leaving. I'm putting some electrolytes and this particular crystal in your bag. You're going to need that to recover later. He's talking up a storm. Okay. And not understanding that I was feeling his physicality drop. It was quite alarming to me that we were related that. So he sends me a text that evening, and it says, God compelled me to say from me and the universe, thank you. You've done such an amazing job. I think the Russell experience is one perfect, divinely inspired title. The program that you put together is such a great life achievement. To watch your soul light up a room, and then be so gifted to read a room of people, including me, like a book. Nurture all of us energetically is so special. Well, that makes you amazing. Now, what was interesting about this is what I've been doing with groups for a very long time. I energetically mingle with groups. I didn't understand that, and that could be a conversation for another day. But for him to see it was a bit startling for me. So when cosmic romance enters your life, do understand that you are seen at a level that you've never been seen before. But then here's the paragraph that really, really got me. I hope you can drink that love I just expressed into your heart. Take that to the depths of forever, and then multiply that by infinity. And you will there realize how far that love I expressed goes for you. Get some rest. I'm about to pass out, but you already knew that. That last paragraph may not seem very big to you, but it was an expression of just a very divine love to me. And I was sitting on a blanket outside at my house in Charlottesville, and I cried for hours. It was as if God himself had sent me a text. And keep in mind, I still didn't understand how all this was coming together, but I knew that there was this very big healing love. That's what I would like to be sure to anchor here, is that within divine unions, cosmic romance, within this love vibration, unconditional love is so powerful, it is hugely, hugely healing. And if the world could really grasp that, we would live in a very, very different place. So let me fast forward here. Then came the next day, he had asked that we could spend some time, and I said, why don't we meet up on the mountain and we'll enjoy the view. That's what people come here for, and we'll have an hour together. This will be the first time that we had ever spent alone by ourselves. So let me share with you a very fun story as I take you here. Now, do understand, I've never spent any time alone with this person. I've only been on the phone less than 5 minutes at all with this person. And I get up there, I brought 2 chairs so we could look at the mountain. I set the chairs right beside each other, still having no idea what was about to unfold. He walks up and he has a speaker, and he has his flute in his hand. And his speaker, he said, I want to play the song I sent you. I was thinking, okay. And I asked if I could hold his hand because I was trying to assimilate the energy. What happens to many of us, please understand, when we breathe with another, when we touch another, we actually integrate with their energies, much like the Avatar movie. You know, when they take their braids and they tie it with a tree, and you have that connection. If you've never seen it, you want to be sure to look up that scene. That's what happens when you interact with another. So I asked if I could hold his hand while we were just listening to the song, because I was like, something has got to explain to me what is going on. And the song ended, and he said, would you like me to play it again? And I said, yes. And by that point, he had told me I was very safe, because he knew I did not feel safe. I have been very fearful of the masculine in this lifetime, to be perfectly honest with you. This is something that I've really, really had to work hard in my life to trust, because I've been around very, very strong masculines that are incredibly demeaning. And so he told me I was safe. So when the song played again, I asked him if I could hug him. He said yes. Could you imagine how strange this is, right? How funny this is. And so I hug him, and when I hugged his neck, that's when the knowing came in that this was the gold essence that had been talking to me for all these years. And it was It was very overwhelming to me. It was delightful. It was like I had just left what this earth was about. And so, of course, I ended up, I'm not sure who kissed who, but there was a kiss there. And as the kiss finished, he utters the word, "I love you." And me, being hearing impaired, my eyes were still closed, so I couldn't read his lips. And I said, "Did you just say that?" And he said, "Yes." And before I could stop myself, I said, "I love you too." So I want you to imagine the shock of that moment for us both. We both sit back, and we're both like, what's just happening? What is happening? Well, we ended up coming back to the museum. I'm sure if you had ever talked to some of the team here, there was a little bit of shock as we just told them that somebody said, "How did the meeting go?" I was like, yeah, there seems to be a thing, and we're kind of an item, and we're in love. Eyes as big as saucers. The whole thing was incredibly shocking. So I want you to understand that it was very, very riveting. But I'm not going to read all of these to you. I'm leaving this here. But I want you to see that all of a sudden, the flowery language that came forth from both of us, just huge expressions of love. It was like a bucket, a heart bursting of love comes forth as we're sharing these things. From my soul to your soul. We're talking about my heart beats to feel your heartbeat in rhythm with mine. We talk about we're one. To my heart and sunshine, my other half that has made me truly whole. My writings are going to be intense, for I am inspired and made whole by my heart that has always been inside of you. And even me, you are the in-breath to my out-breath, the missing tiles in my mosaic, the wave in my ocean, wrapping you in so much joyful, divine love. Now, I share this with you because what's important to understand is that when this happens to you, if you invite this into your life, it explodes I still don't have words for it, but the language that begins to come from you both will shock you. You will feel a level of depth, and the words will be so incredibly powerful that it will stun you. And there's a moment where you may begin to have some resistance because you're like, I feel like I'm a Disney movie. Where did this come from? And it's important to allow that to simply flow through you. So please know in the following subsequent months, the energy was so intense in our physicality that we could not spend a great deal of time together. So first it was a day. Then several weeks later, it was 1 week. And then several weeks later, it was 3 weeks. And then several weeks later, it was 2 months. So please understand that the energy, it is a container that is of light that anchors into the space. And there are even times now we're much better at acclimating with the energy, but we are times that we have to be careful of not short-circuiting our nervous system because the energy that's flowing in is so powerful. I've had the tenacity of a cosmic detective trying to figure out what in the world was going on here. I've since found out about our many multiple past lives, so we've been together many, many times, including times in Atlantis. I have had quantum hypnosis sessions to ask about what in the world is going on, and that is an intriguing story that I'll share with you right quick. He had a vision 18 years ago of two spears coming together. I'll let him share that with you perhaps during Q&A. But before we met, I also had a memory of two, I called them bubbles. You know, like in The Wizard of Oz, you remember where the pink bubble comes of the good witch, where the bubble shows up? Well, that's what I would see. I saw them merge. And the morning before our golden hour, the portal that I had access to what was on the other side was so huge that I had one of the biggest visions I've ever had about how the cosmic clock works. And believe it or not, it also ties into a Barry Manilow song. I write the songs. That's a conversation for another day. But I had the tenacity of trying to figure out what was happening. And what I was literally revealed was the fact that somehow he and I have a creator contract that's incredibly powerful. That apparently in some universe, of the many universes that Walter and Lao talk about, that it's very much like this drawing. So this is in the home study course, and this is in unit 10. I have it here, and it's in black and white. And then here is a version that's actually colorized by Karen Elkins, who is a student of the USP. And what begins to happen, who knew that God was going to send me my own personal tutor for exactly what this particular thing meant? But it is creation. So when you see on the right, and you see the feminine is the blue, and it is expansive, it is outwinding, it's magnetic. And on the left, when you see the male, it is red, inwinding, it's electric. And what happens, I'm going to say it in my best way that I can because I'm still learning this, even though I'm living it, is where you see it come together, that is in fact creation. And this is a process that is repeated over and over and over again. Now, please note that part of why I'm such a fan of the Russell work is I believe that the Russell work is pure, and it can right the many inversions that we have in this particular matrix. Remember that many of us in gender reveals are taught that the woman is pink and the boy is blue. That's not true. This scientific diagram, and I would encourage anyone to study the home study course because it will begin to make sense to you. And so there I was living this, and I was shown that we had this creator contract where we actually, apparently, the way my hypnotic self came in and told me is that, oh yeah, you all live in like creator land, and all these bubbles and these spheres are around, and you come together and you say, oh, let's go create. And those are some of the contracts that many of us have lined up. Now, please remember that I'm sharing this in a romantic way, but it doesn't have to be in a romantic way. It can be in other ways. But we are designed to love, and we are designed to create. And creation is really the essence. And for anyone here, that we create families, we create communities, we create meals, we create worlds. And it's really very powerful. And who knew science could be so sexy? So as I was thinking through this, I was like, wow, I've got my own little personal tutor here. So when we talk about cosmic romance, what happened was a portal opened, and I was able to hear from what is called the love vibration. Now, this was the very first time when I had heard from other essences. Like I said, I have thousands of pages. This is the first time after he and I had met, and we were there in a week. Something happens when he and I share space, and there is a larger portal that I have access to. And this is what the love vibration said. And I'd like you to drink it in for yourself, because the words are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And that's what I wanted anchored in this particular hour as I begin to wrap up here. Because this is what the vibration said. It said, love is a force, gentle and strong at the same time. It provides space for what is needed at the time. Is healing needed? Is tenderness needed? Is power needed? Love is very fluid. It adopts and constantly holds the energy which is in its space. It is a profound understanding of that which does not need words. Remember the divine Iliad? It is an energy which can reach far down into the soul and nourish the cells for ultimate healing. Let's speak of the tenderness which you tapped into this week. Love expresses itself in powerful ways, meaning it can be words, a look, a touch. It is a masterful way to tap dance in the world. Love is space for amazing things to incubate. Drink in this love vibration, please. It says you're wondering about connecting with the KC higher self and the divine team. It is possible. So I asked, after I'd met him, I was like, well, can I still talk to the other side of him that I've been talking to? And here's what they said. Hello again. So it has been the arrival of the divinely appointed time for the connection of two souls with a passion for the greater good of humanity. You were tapping into the love vibration above, for it deeply desires voice, for its expression has been deeply distorted in this reality. May we all really, really get that. Our understanding of love, we haven't even scratched the surface. This soul and your soul both know at a vibrational level what love really is, expressed and unexpressed, loud and soft, strong and tender. You are experiencing full range of the love vibration as you both allow the heart space to blossom. Don't be fooled by the earthly realm and its supposed reality, for you both know deep down it is an illusion. The nourishment you each provide the other is healing the distortions and reminding you vibrationally of the power ready to unfold in your lives. Love is magnetic. Now, I want to stop there for just a minute. Ever since that first week, that's what I've been calling him, is my magnetic partner. Now, this scientific drawing technically, he should be my electric partner. So I'm hoping someone in the scientific world here at USP can explain to me why it's still magnetism to me. It is magnetic. It is a force that draws together like a magnet that is so riveting that you cannot deny it. Love is magnetic. Healing has to burst forth like a bloom because the seeds of healing are always within love. You felt the tenderness of it last evening when you felt the pain bubble up. Love transmutes all pain. You are wondering about past lives and about the divine appointment that you both have had. You've had many fruitful incarnations, both on this planet and other existences. The buoyancy you feel together is the remnants of past experiences, both fruitful and challenging, for you are both warriors, very strong in spirit and powerful in the mightiness of the love vibration. Create containers of love that will spread through this thought wave universe, such as the movie idea. Already celebrate its success in the unfolding love wave, which will be released to the audiences. You both had an agreement to assist in the unfolding of the awakening. The tachyon treatments will be helpful to removing this residue, the residue of this 3D life. As you well know, timelines are fluid, and many potential timelines are unfolding around you both. You are also tapping into collective timelines. The future is ripe with possibilities. That's what's swirling around us all right now. You're both master souls who come into systems of reality and need adjustments in collective healing. You are both masters at collective healing, and your human souls have been doing that on one level already. The potential of your combined strengths is able to unfold in a very practical way. You're wondering who I am. I am a guide on the Kenneth Soul Divine Team, as you would say. You know there are larger cosmic truths to unfold for him and for you both. Step into mastery on every level, physically, emotionally, spiritual, and etherically. You are here to assist in birthing the new age. The unfoldment will be quite beautiful. Do not be dismayed by the separation in the physical, for those of you that are wondering. Your connection is instant and far surpasses the physical reality. You are indeed connected like a live wire. You both agreed to this so that your powers could be magnified for the upliftment of humanity. Love deeply, for it can be magnified for good. So, those of you that have been at Swananoa know that there's a bench, and we had a chance to have a picture there, and it was special for me. That's where I sat many, many times when I first came up here to the mountain. And it was so special to me when the team found a picture of Walter and Lao and also sitting there on that bench that I showed you earlier. May we all find a way to sit on that bench and drink in this love vibration that's there. And what I want to remind you all is that this whole idea of our coming together like this, it really is about the unfolding that we talk about with the home study course every Sunday night. You must realize that your unfolding to the point at which you have already arrived has been a long one. You are ready for the light now. Otherwise, you would not so keenly desire it. That's Unit 2. So what would I say to someone who is facing this? I just have a few final thoughts, and then I'm going to have Ken come up to answer any questions that we may have. I would say to you that you live the truth of what you feel inside. We live in a reality where so many of us have been taught to deny what we feel, and I was right there with it. Feelings keep me away from it. I don't want to feel. But with the beautiful vibration that is coming in and anchoring right now on the planet, we're all being asked to feel and allow and surrender and trust those feelings as it invites us to a new reality, a better reality for humanity. And as we think about this braid that I talked about right at the beginning, I wanted to come here with a heartfelt understanding and a gift to document. Someday maybe I'll have a follow-up once we find all the love letters from Walter and Lao. But I have such an appreciation for the fact that they helped me demystify what was unfolding. And so I'm hoping that our story will help demystify that for someone else. Because this is unfolding. It matters not what age you are. It matters not whatever has been in your past. There's destiny unfolding. And please understand that divine love, cosmic love, unfolds an understanding of where you begin to relate to the mother side of God, to the father side of God. And it does have a lot to do with self-love. So for anyone watching here today or in the future, please understand that the journey of loving is not only are you loving something, like I was bringing love to this museum, like you heard Ken when he shared love from what he's done in his recovery work. Spend time on your own self-love. How much do you love yourselves? Have you traversed that path with yourself? Because cosmic love can come into a space when that self-love is blossoming. You know, it matters not how long the season is. All of these cosmic romances that are going to be anchoring all over the world are going to be like flowers that are blooming in a garden at different seasons. It might be for a reason of healing. It might be for a season. It could be for a lifetime. It matters not. I do want to end with the thought, though, that telepathy is becoming the norm. I invite you to begin to unplug from your technology. It is an interference from your divine ability to tune into this thought wave universe. Very, very, very powerful. It does not have to be spooky, so I am here offering it as a documentary here to the science of man. Divine unions and cosmic romance elevate the consciousness of the planet. When we look at the power of Walter and Lao Russell and what they did and the legacy that they left here that so many of us benefit from, that was a timeless cosmic romance that the seeds are still sprouting today. Don't get caught up in the package that you think a cosmic romance would come in. Lao and Walter were 33 years apart. Ken and I, a West Coast bad boy, East Coast good girl. We say those on the external, but on the inside, you're alike. That's really what happens. It's like attracts like, and there's a lot more that I know Ken would say about that. I do want to say that what I was taught about marriage and love in my Southern Baptist culture, I have now come to realize is not love. It was control. Any belief system on this planet that does not believe in a balanced unity of the feminine and the masculine is not love. It is false light. And I am laying that gauntlet here. This is something I have wrestled with for my entire life. All belief systems on this planet that are demeaning the feminine is absolute false light. This planet will not heal. Humanity will not heal until the divine feminine steps into their full glory, full force, with the support and the anchoring and the love of every divine masculine on this planet. And so that is my plea to you today, is to understand that within the work of Walter and Lao Russell, we have something very special to help us anchor the balance of the feminine and the masculine. If you had told me 3 years ago that I would someday be doing a talk on cosmic romance, I would have told you were crazy. We are evolving in consciousness. It's really important that we be patient with ourselves and with others. We are all expanding at a rate that is unknown to humanity. You are going to be a very different person a few months from now than you are today, and even more different even a year out. So, allow, surrender, trust, and invite in this very powerful divine love that's available to us all. So that is my message here today. As we have just a few minutes left, I will simply ask Ken to grab the bench to come up here, and we'll answer any questions if any of you have questions, because I know that was a lot in a short amount of time. Any questions from Zoom or from the audience? Yes.
You mentioned ley lines, and I was wondering, ley lines?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. So what happened, what I found out when I came here to Waynesboro, Virginia, is that he actually had his tachyon healing chamber here because it was attached to a ley line. And a ley line, by the way, which comes right through the museum. And that ley line goes all the way to sacred sites all the way on the other side of the world. So there, and when you think about the power of Swananoa, they too were tapping into that energy of a ley line. And that's really the power of why people still have a draw here today. So it is the love vibration, but it's also something much larger than that. Any other questions, observations, or comments? Michaela, anything from Zoom? No questions?
I want to know where my microphone is.
You have to speak louder. I'll have to give you, we'll have to share this one. I'll have to share this one.
I want to say a couple things since you guys aren't asking questions of what the signs were. It's very powerful to know that what Kimberly was talking about in terms of the message and the vision that I had 18 years ago of a union, and it was two spheres. I was in a meditation, and I was able to see in a I don't even know, sky-like pattern, if you will, and I saw all these spheres, and they were different sizes, some big, some small, medium, and there was red ones and blue ones, and they were oscillating, they were moving on an axis, which is basically, I thought they were atoms, is what I thought I was seeing. But the coloration was interesting because it was the wave pattern that I was seeing of the colors, and they were moving, they were circling. One was going clockwise and the other one was going counterclockwise. And then out of all these little bubbles, or spheres, if you will, that I was seeing, it was magnetic. And so Kimberly used the term magnetic, and the reason is because as a male, I was magnetically drawn to her by my desire for the expression of love. So the magnetism was her pulling me in, which is the magnetic forces in principle. What Walter talks about is the creation, the female side of creation, to release and seed all idea and be the womb of life. So there's a draw. As a man, I have this desire to attract that magnetism and be a part of that as the seed of idea. And so that's why I was so compelled to come to her. But there were so many affirmations, and when she mentioned us, there's another one that I started texting her, that now that we've met, us is all that matters. And then I come to find out in all of her writings in the gold that us was this big statement. The spheres, though, were really important for me because I knew I was seeing matehood. So when I come back to those spheres, these two came together. And when they came together, one was red, one was blue, and they were the exact same size. And the one was going counterclockwise, so it was going that way, and the other one was going clockwise. And they started, as they're revolving, we met as spheres. I know this sounds spooky, weird, but it's exactly what I saw. And then all of a sudden, the clockwise one started to go wrapping around the blue one and go counter, and the counterclockwise started wrapping around the red, which I felt I was, and it started going clockwise. And an infinity symbol started to take form, and that's where I saw this infinity symbol. If you look on the text, I started texting her two hearts and an infinity symbol in the middle, which is our text today, which is what I saw when those two spheres came together. One was going that way, and I was actually dating a girl at the time, and I thought, I just knew it wasn't her, if that makes any sense. But I was
18 years ago.
Yes, this is 18 years ago. So I meet Kimberly, and I read her book, The Lion Inside, which I had hoped she had, but she didn't. But when I read that book, I saw a red and a blue sphere in her book that became an infinity symbol. So I mean that, and she had written the book 8 years ago. Well, how long ago?
Yeah.
So in writing that book and seeing that, it was like, that was just goofy weird, right? So I mean, this love thing has continuity beyond, it brings continuity into your life. There's a pattern, the things that you see, but you got to tap into them. Us was a big one that united once we met. That infinity symbol was such a confirmation, affirmation of, it was her. I was seeing her 18 years ago. I knew I was seeing matehood. I knew it, but I didn't feel that was the person that I was dating, but I knew I was seeing matehood in that vision. And then the gold document that I've read and Kimberly shared with me through the time we've been together, I mean, it is my dialogue. They are my thoughts. You can't, I mean, how can you do that? This is why, and I call her Woo Woo Kim for a reason, because you know what I mean? She's got this ethereal and all this stuff, and it comes together so well. And all I would really say is that you got to do the work for sure, but you know when you know, because it was immediate. It was like knowing, and what I knew was I met my other half. That she was me. Not only she does what I do in terms of speaking and lecturing and motivating people. I do it on a spiritual level. She does it on a corporate level, but it's the same thing. It's the work we do. And I have built up work over the years, much work. I have over 1,000 audio files of my lectures. That there's so much in there. You know, the God light would come on when I start to lecture. So I knew that work wouldn't come to fruition until I met my other half. And now that we have met, there's so much going on. I want to say one more thing. So we were up at Shenandoah National Forest last October, and all the colors were changing. And I had told her, I'm your rock and you're my flower. Before I had read that document, I had texted her that I'm your rock and you are my flower. We go up to the Shenandoah Forest and was able to have this amazing cosmic moment with her where I said, you see how this is all an illusion? 90% of those trees are 90% air. And so we were talking about how it's converted light. It's just like this room or anything where you're at, how it has to convert itself through your pupil and on a measureless point to create an image in your mind of what you're, in your brain of what you think you're seeing. So you realize it must be light, because how could all this convert down to a measureless point in our eyeballs, whatever room you're in, whatever environment you're in, and transcend as an image if it wasn't light? It wouldn't be possible. If it was solid, it certainly wouldn't fit in our eyeball, the world we live in. So we're up there on the mountain and we're standing on this wall, and it's a rock with a white flower in it. We did not work together on this approach. That's why I'm sitting there bawling my head off. Thank God I'm in the front. And in terms of that, you know, it just opens up something inside you've been desiring your whole life, and it just makes sense. That to me is what the expression of love. And it's not about getting, it's about the desire to give. And I think that's the magnetism. It's not about trying to get something. It's like, I want to give to you all that I've learned and all that I've experienced. And you know your other half because the similarities are so amazing. That's it. Sorry.
My month. No. I'm kidding. What I want to bring up to you, though, is can you imagine, of course, he didn't understand what I meant when I said up there, oh, my God, you're gold. He had no idea what I meant. And I didn't share the document with him for almost 2 weeks because I needed to confirm, because I figured maybe the universe is playing tricks on me. And it wasn't until he started texting me phrases that were in that document. You are my flower and I am your rock, all of these things. And I was like, this is a strange collision of this multidimensional universe. So, that's what I simply wanted to offer here today, because I think it's going to be happening. I know deep down, it's going to be happening to more and more and more people. More people. Other questions? Do we have any questions by Zoom?
Wow. Good stuff.
Any thoughts?
My voice is so weak, but I love it. I think it's a beautiful story and a beautiful account of how it all played out.
Thank you. It was very difficult for me to figure out, how do I do this, because nothing about it was linear and honoring. What I would say to anybody who's watching this in the future is that if you are being feel compelled to study the Russell work, that there is something you're being drawn. You will find loving relationships all over the place. You will find that people are loving each other. You will find this lovely light, and I would invite you to continue following that path. And I would have never expected this to unfold the way it did. And so it is my great joy and our great joy. I didn't share with him anything that I was talking about today. He knew I needed the posters from the bedroom. And so we continue now. One of our creations is the podcast that we do every Sunday night, Awaken Your Inner Genius. You can find it on YouTube. You can look up awaken.show. And every Sunday night with others that we go through the home study course this is one more creation. So what we all do is that we birth creations. We birth creations over and over and over. We have some that are birthing creations here in the museum, other that are birthing creations and they're on their farm. But that's really, we are destined to create and we are destined to love. So
one more thing I'll say too is, if you are in a relationship, you can reinvent it at any time. And the reinventing of it is to always flower that relationship, right? To me, I always found it really weird how we could treat strangers as though they're as good as gold, but the people that are closest to us, all they do is find fault. This was my story. I would find fault with them, look for their failings and their weaknesses, and then people I didn't know, I would pull out their assets and tell them how wonderful they are. And it's the complete opposite of what it should be. Your most important relationship is your primary relationship, no matter whether you know it or not. So reinventing it to me was, my job is to nurture my relationship internally and externally. and no matter what I'm in. And that led me to the ultimate one where you can't calculate this, but when you meet, you'll just know this is my other half. It's exactly like the fairy tales say. It's pretty goofy. And I'm a big old moosh ball now. I cry. I'm like this. I just put it out there. I come from a very hard life. She comes from a different life. So your backgrounds really don't matter. What really matters is who you are today and nurturing that loving relationship and that love, that light of love in your own relationship. And it'll mirror itself back to you. If you want to be loved by your partner, give them a lot of love. Whatever you feel is missing, give that to them, and they'll mirror that back to you. You truly are re-given that what you give in love.
So last thought that I wanted to share with everybody, you know, we as humans always want to know the future. We want to know how things are going to unfold. And so many times I would ask my divine team, where's this going, right? Where's this going? And my divine team would say, stop asking that question. Can't you just love him to pieces? And what I've realized is that the connection that we have far surpasses this lifetime and this reality. I've had memories actually of our other lifetimes. One was in the middle of the night of when I lost him one time in my arms. And I lived that memory as if it had just happened yesterday. And in that lifetime, I had no understanding that our souls were eternal. So I had to feel that pain all over again. But for all of us, we're being asked to love as much as we can love in every now moment. And not look to the past, not be hung up by the pain in the past, not look to a future that can't necessarily be defined. The love that we're all about to experience so far surpasses our understanding of love from this human reality that I am so excited about that. And so when I first came into this particular museum, I realized that this place was positioned to be a beacon of light in a very difficult humanity. And so may all of us that are plugged in right now take that and bring that expression of love to light.